Fact of the matter is that if you think you're innocent in all of this, you aren't. Refusing to see how you treated others and what you put them through says a lot. Talking about delusions and constantly thinking everyone is out to get you is such a bad mindset. You made so many mistakes, horrible decisions, and deciding to lash out on people you've wronged or scared. I was one of those people who were scared. I saw something so horrible forming, I didn't want to be part of that any longer.
This was a vague tweet that AddictzzColorzz wrote about me on August 5th, 2023, who I'll be referring to as Emmy for the rest of the video. On July 29th, about 2 weeks before that, I had a public mental breakdown that thousands of people unfortunately had to see. Many of you have been confused about why my Twitter account had been permanently deleted, so there are plenty of unanswered questions. This video attempts to explain everything that unfolded leading up to this tweet and provide my side of those events. I never had the chance to speak out about this, and I stayed silent for a few reasons. As it was holiday season, it was supposed to be a time of joy that I didn't want to potentially ruin. Also, given the nature of the Sonic Twitter community, which I'll bring up later, I feared both for my well-being and for who was then my fiancé. We broke up following this. Yet as much as I tried to carry on, these events haunted me and interfered with my daily life. The more I lived keeping this to myself, the worse my mental health became. I've been confused, shifting between anger towards others, towards myself, and guilt. So I spent the next few months afterwards with professionals figuring out what would be the best course of action for me. We've determined it would be best to openly talk about my story and the conflict between me and 4 individuals. The individuals in question are FerretFresh, AddictzzColorzz, ghouliisch, and GummyFangz. For the past several months, the following events have bled into my relationships and my personal life, leading up to me deleting my Twitter X account and more. But I want to make it clear, Emmy is right when she said that I'm not innocent. There are no heroes in this story, just people. This was messy from all sides. So I'm not doing this to save myself or to profit. I don't care about that. This is for my dignity, to answer long unanswered questions, and to find peace with myself. It all started in the second week of April when my fiancé blocked FerretFresh. You may recognize this artist. She was a very talented artist and I was close friends with her. However, recently she was accused of misappropriating money, failing to refund commissions, and assuming a new identity to escape punishment. I will put links in the description that dive into that case in detail. Because she goes by a million aliases, I'll be calling her Sage for the rest of the video. Now, Sage had come to me asking why SO blocked her, and I was unaware of it until that moment. Since I didn't know, I speculated that it might have had something to do with AddictzzColorzz, Sage's friend who SO disliked for reasons I'll get to later. I can read the logs here.
Why did block me on Twitter? I'm sorry, what did I even do? I literally had no issue with her whatsoever.
I don't know, but it's probably because you're friends with M, who she understandably hates.
I get that, but I wasn't even involved with anything.
She told me that she felt like she was slowly being pushed away from the friend group. That was a while ago.
Guess I'm guilty by association. Whatever. Sorry, I'm literally annoyed by this. Plus, I wasn't pushing her away. I was following what you yourself had mentioned, that it would be best and Skulls weren't in the same group.
I want to clarify that Skulls and Emmy are the same person. Remember, these names are interchangeable. Did you even talk to her about it?
No, because I'm blocked. I literally can't. I think she blocked me on Discord too.
Let me rephrase. Did you talk to her about it in the past?
No, because it never came to my mind, and that's my own fault. Regardless, though, I was just going by what you had said, that was all.
I said they shouldn't have been in the same server. I didn't mean you shouldn't talk to her yourself.
I just hope this doesn't cause any issues, because now I feel like I can't even interact in Gummy's server now. I just don't want to cause any discomfort.
So she's justified to feel outcasted. I'm not mad, Sage, but I have to be realistic.
I get that, but was the block really needed? I wasn't even involved in any of this. In fact, I did my best to stay away from it.
I don't think blocking was necessary.
She could have just muted me because now I feel like she hates me.
I don't think she hates you at all, but I think she feels betrayed.
I understand, you know. but still.
Because what M had done to her was not okay at all, no matter how much she apologizes.
I know how it feels to be betrayed, and I'm sorry that she feels that way. But I tried to stay out of this entire mess, and now it feels like to me at least she's either trying to drag me into it or just doesn't like me. I don't know what to do really. I don't know for sure if she's trying to drag me into this and try to make me look bad. I don't really know what's going through her head. All I can say is I'm sorry. But regardless, if she's going to associate or involve me this much when all I tried to do was stay out of this bullshit, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I just feel backstabbed again.
Sage, if was trying to drag you into it, she wouldn't have blocked you.
There was no need to block me, but I just hope you know this is probably going to start communication problems, mainly with our friend group.
Neither of you talk anyway.
That's not what I meant. I meant joining calls, mainly in Gummy's server. I know I don't join there much, but what if there's a day I want to and is there? I can't be present if I bring her discomfort, Tesla.
I'm sorry, Sage. Maybe you shouldn't have listened to me. It's my fault that I don't always have good ideas.
It's fine. It's my fault I misunderstood stuff. I may just end up leaving Gummy's server. There's no point in trying to fix anything.
Still, she didn't backstab you, just to be real. Once told me that she felt like you and Ghouliisch were ignoring her. Thought maybe M was talking shit about her. I don't think M did such a thing, but since we didn't properly address anything to her, she has the right to have felt so ignored.
I just blocked her back. There's no point anymore. It's whatever. I've already left Gummy's server. There's no point in trying.
I think you're making an irrational decision.
And no, by the way, Skull's never shit-talked. I'm not making an irrational decision. I'm going by facts. What's the point of being in the same space with someone you bring discomfort just by being guilty of associating with another someone hates? I'm just kind of done. I'm sorry, Tesla. Has every right to be upset. I'm not invalidating her feelings.
I could have just spoken to about this so she could possibly unblock you and start a conversation. It's impulsive.
I guess, but I'm not sure if it'll work. I've had multiple bad experiences with things like that.
I get it. I just don't understand why you blocked it.
I just did it so she doesn't really have to hear or see anything from me. If I bring her discomfort, I wanted to just respect the decision.
She already blocked you though. She doesn't see anything about you in the first place. I don't see why mutual blocks are a thing. It's just so stupid.
It's whatever, I guess. I don't know, I just did it out of respect. I'm sorry about all of this regardless.
No apologies to me. I mean, you can apologize as if you were talking to right now.
Can you tell her I'm sorry at least?
I will.
Thank you.
And I tried telling her that you weren't ignoring her, just didn't know how to handle the whole ordeal. As you've just seen in these logs, Sage did not take kindly to my SO blocking her, despite them hardly ever interacting with each other, and made impulsive, irrational decisions such as blocking her back, leaving Gummy's server, and even accusing her of trying to make her look bad. Sage and I have known my SO for nearly 3 years at this point. She is not the person to do that, and Sage knew it. It's so strange how Sage reacted like this, considering she had never made any attempt to talk to her because it never came to her mind. She even admitted to me that she barely talks to her since SO is not a Sonic fan and they shared nothing in common. But this doesn't come as a surprise to me anymore. Another person had blocked her about a few weeks before this, and even though she didn't contact them for about 3 months, she was just as upset. Another thing to note, the friend group Sage refers to included me, my SO, Ghouliisch, GummyFangz, M, and a couple of others. When you hear me mention the friend group, Sage's server, or Gummy's server, I'm referring to these people since we were all part of these things. Anyone else who hasn't been named were not involved and will be called outliers for short. Now, Sage said this is going to start communication problems. Take note of this, because this is going to be the running theme of this story. Communication, or the lack thereof. Very shortly, Sage will pull the same exact thing she was complaining about in a model display of hypocrisy. 3 days later, Sage sent me the following message at 5 AM, meaning this was the first thing I saw when I woke up.
Hey man, I just wanted to be open and honest with you, just so you aren't left in the dark about this. I haven't felt comfortable around you at all ever since the whole incident. While I understand
is upset with Skulls, and I am not invalidating her feelings. She is also making it hard to communicate with anyone and blocking anyone that associates with Skulls. Just because myself, alongside others, speak to and are guilty by associating with Skulls was a bit selfish. Hold on a second. SO is making it hard to communicate with anyone, blocking anyone that associates with Skulls. No, this is not true. I have never insinuated that SO was blocking everyone that associated with her. Sage was the only person she blocked, and you'll see why soon. Let's continue. She has a right to be upset, but involving any of us with this is making it hard to communicate. I won't block you, but I just need to distance myself from all this. I do not want to be involved or associated with any of this, period. I'm not saying we should stop being friends either. I think I just need a break to collect myself because this has actually stressed me out. I'm really sorry, Tesla, but with the things I've been through, I really don't want to have to deal with more stress. Sage had kicked me out of her server because my SO blocked her, I guess. Again, I didn't know the reason why she was blocked in the first place. I was only speculating, but reading this pissed me off. Because not only did this make absolutely no sense, and to this day it still doesn't, somebody please explain to me how this makes sense, it was a prime example of hypocrisy. Sage complained about my SO making things difficult for communication and is so-called dragging people into her situation by blocking them. Once again, this makes no sense, but here she is doing the same exact thing to me, dragging me into it according to her own logic. It was also not the first time Sage had done something like this. I've known her since 2017, but ever since COVID, she has made numerous terrible, rash decisions. A lot of us in the friend group called her out on things like this, even Gummy, who was like her manager. Again, more on that later. I'm sure plenty of other former friends of hers can back me up on that. In retrospect, however, I think I know why Sage did this, and it's because of a former friend in one of her dogs. Sage has caused issues with them, and they blocked her as a result. This happened 3 days before my SO blocked Sage. So that was most likely why, but again, this still makes no fucking sense. This entire video came out because of bad timing. Nevertheless, this was the final straw. Like I said, this was sent at 5 in the morning. When I woke up, this was the first thing I've seen, so this was the first thing I sent. A bunch of question marks. I gave her 23 minutes before my real response. So you've kicked me out of the server because of what my fiancé is doing? I guess I'm guilty by association too. And you know what? I'm fine with it. I know this is reminiscent of your past unfortunate situations, but this makes absolutely no sense. 1. I cannot control what she does. She, again, is my fiancé, not my freaking dog. 2. You are doing exactly what she is. You haven't blocked me, no, but you're wrapping me up in this like she supposedly is with you. 3. Is not interested in having communication with you. Just because she is blocking you, or anyone else who's still friends with Skulls, doesn't mean she's involving any one of you into it. If anything, it's the opposite. A block just severs communication between you and herself. It's not some declaration of war. She wants to be left alone, and I won't force her to come out. I get it. You're stressed. You've been through hell and back. But this, being open and honest with you, is nothing but excessive. You can do whatever you want, but quite frankly, I've given up. I'm sorry, but if at some point you do collect yourself, I don't want to be back on your server. Nobody wants me there anyway. I'm not comfortable there either. I'm not comfortable feeling like a piece of shit every time I get into a voice chat or every time I share my pieces. I'm not comfortable knowing people there may say one thing affront my face and hide the truth when I'm not there. I have more important things to do. I have a story to write. I have a game to finish. And I have a woman to marry. Whether or not people will be there to see it done is no longer my concern or yours. I can see why blocked you. That tirade wasn't just my frustration towards Sage and the way she was handling this. It was my frustration towards Sage's server that built up for months because of the following reasons. 1. Sage randomly deleted her servers. This was the 3rd or 4th server that she created, and why these servers were deleted was because she secretly disliked certain members, and instead of kicking them out, she'd just make a new server without them. It was annoying. I wasn't the only one bothered by this. 2. People had talked ill of me behind my back. There was one person in particular I remember. I thought we were friends, we seemed to get along and we had a common interest. Until Sage told me that they didn't like me. I don't know why. My trust in some people had been broken since. 3. Overshadowing. This was an art server and I'd share my pieces on a regular basis. They were often not recognized by members of the server. The very next piece somebody shared would. And this frustrated me and some others for the longest time. A rule had to be created to try and curb this, but even then it wasn't enforced much. This is where I wish the story ended, but unfortunately it continued because of what I said at the end. Who I mentioned at the end was not my SO, it was the other person that blocked her. Back then I didn't know why they blocked her, so it wasn't okay to mention them, especially because I only wanted to do it to piss her off in the heat of the moment. If this was the future, I don't think this would have been a big deal. But because that the previous block was still relatively fresh, it was just too soon. I backpedaled. I'm sorry, Sage. There's no excuse, but the only thing I can say is sorry. I didn't think I was being listened to. I felt hurt and I wanted to hurt you back. It was impulsive of me, and if you want to cut ties, I get it. I'm sorry. I had no intentions of hurting you. I was trying to be open and honest with you with how I felt. Like you claimed you wanted instead of being left in the dark. I see that now, but it still doesn't make sense to me. Or at least it didn't, given what just happened. I can see why. No, to be honest, I didn't. Even before that, again, why do this to me instead of... I have trust issues. Maybe it was just getting the best of me. I don't know. You didn't trust me? I understand why you have trust issues, but Sage, I've stuck with you after all these years. That isn't what I'm saying. It's just because of everything, the whole skull situation, I feel like I'm being dragged into it. And I've tried to stay away from everything. I keep telling you, Sage is just not interested in talking to you. She blocked you, so she just wants you to leave her alone. Like you have been, after all. It doesn't mean she's dragging you into the problem. Hell, I don't know why she blocked you. I was only theorizing. I understand. I just don't know what the fuck I did. It could be a million things, but I know for a fact that she hates Skull's guts. I'm aware. I don't think she even hates you, Sage. She just hates seeing Skull's name. Then she could have muted me? If that was the case, I mean. Maybe. For some people, that's not enough. I'm sorry for being this. I can see why she blocked me. I just hope you realize how much you saying that alongside trying to hurt me back stung. And I'm sorry if I've said anything hurtful myself, but those weren't my intentions. This whole thing was hurtful. It stung just as much. Yeah, you were honest with me and I appreciate that, but the reasoning behind your actions just didn't make sense to me. That's what frustrated me the most. I thought we were already done from the moment you messaged me. I was like, what's the point of being diplomatic if nothing I say here changes your mind? Part of me still cared enough about Sage to apologize. But I don't want that to take away from the point of my message, that Sage has screwed me over for the last time and that I was finished with her. It was now the 18th, 6 days after I was removed from the server. It was complete radio silence. Although Gummy's server included Sage, it wasn't very active at this time, voice chat wise. Sometimes there were text chats, but they were short, awkward, and filled with dead memes. Sage had seemingly forgotten about me. The other aspect about this, which is even worse, is that nobody else seemed to care, or at the very least downplayed the situation. When I told Gummy what Sage had done to me, she apparently already knew. Sage told her, and Gummy was like, "Oh, you know Sage always does stupid shit like this, it'll be resolved in a few days." And that I was in the wrong for my reaction. Apparently the only way we could talk about me being back in the server was if SO unblocked Sage and quote started communicating. No one directly told me to do this, but knowing Sage for years and knowing that she was being blocked by tons of people for her previous actions, I knew this was what she wanted. Looking back on this, thinking about it pisses me off. In a textbook example of irony, Sage dragged me into this. And yet, I relented. And I hate this. I hate this so much. I should have just cut things off from there. Maybe I would have been happier. And yet I didn't. I still held on to the belief that Sage cared about us. If it meant satisfying her enough to be comfortable with me again and welcome me back to his server, I thought it was worth a shot. And that was my mistake. The reason why I was so motivated was because Sage's server was the most active one I was part of. Not only was the friend group there, people in the server used voice chats on a regular basis. It gave me company while doing art, the one thing I've always needed for some reason to do so. So I messaged my SO, asking her why she had blocked Sage. She was like, how did I know? Sage told me so. Like I said, I didn't know why and speculated that it was about Emmy. In a way, I was right. SO had blocked Sage because out of all the people in the friend group, she was the only one who didn't criticize Emmy for an incident that took place between them. More on that soon. I told her that Sage hates confronting people like that and that she just wants to talk. Unfortunately, I caught her at a bad time, and this pissed her off. She didn't have the capacity to care about Sage at that moment. I didn't tell her that it was affecting me as well, or what Sage had said about her. I only told her that Sage had left every server SO was in after she found out. Again, a trademark, rash, and unnecessary decision. And since Gummy and Ghouliisch were considering opening the servers to more people, I was afraid that they would have to choose who could be invited, and they would most likely pick Sage as they were closer to her. I wanted SO to be part of those servers as well, because even though she didn't interact too much, I considered all of us a family. So after a heated argument, SO unblocked Sage, but it was nearly at the cost of our relationship. The reason why was because SO felt like she had no control over her life, that she was only doing things to please others. So this made her feel like absolute shit, and I spent the next few days trying to mend our relationship, even though the damage was irreversible. I'd let Sage know that SO unblocked her and is now waiting on her to do the same. Sage unblocked her too, and from there I thought it was over. Several days had passed and nothing happened. Even though Sage had unblocked SO, she had not made a single attempt to respond to SO's messages. Days passed by, Sage never responded. She just kept doing her usual things like Sonic art and property crimes. There was no discussion at all. I bothered my SO, got in an argument with her, and risked our entire 3-year relationship just to satisfy the ego of an internet furry who didn't even talk to her. SO felt like shit, like she had no control over her life because of me. We went through all of that trouble for nothing, and Sage didn't seem to care too much. With Sage having accused my then future wife of trying to make her look bad, it's clear to me now that she cared more about public opinion than being SO's friend. Once again, another piece of irony from Sage. Communication problems fucking A right. Yeah, so much for being objective, but god damn it, this is infuriating. Please bear with me, I promise to keep my composure. I honestly should have just cut ties with Sage from there, especially now that I know the kind of person that she is. Whenever Sage did things like this, she seemed invincible. She had a force field that deflected criticism. With the October doc released, people were finally realizing it too late, that they coddled Sage far too much and let her get away with nearly everything that would have otherwise got another person criticized. Like I said, this was not the first time she had done something so irrational. Sage would often just complain and talk shit about her own members on her Discord server in the moderation chat. Members, people that look up to her, enjoy her art, spending time out of the day just to try and chat and learn from her. This is the owner of the server, the main attraction. She was so avoidant of these people that she would delete the server completely, wiping out months worth of history in it, and make a brand new one without those she didn't like. All just to avoid seeing them. And then eventually she would just make a public invite so the same people she didn't like would join the server anyway, making the whole point of making a new server completely pointless and repeating the cycle. It's an absurd overkill of an answer to a simple problem. Just kick them. She would do this all the time, and even others had called her out on this. After reading the exposés written about her some time ago, exposing her for fraud and misappropriation, I realized that following Sage's escape from Twitter, this old friend group we had completely fell apart. I always believed Sage was just not a confrontational person, but the more I think about it, she just didn't care. She was not interested in communication. She would rather complain about it within the friend group and never actively solve the problem. It's different than being indirect. There'd be a problem with another person and nobody would point it out to him until it's too late. Despite this, despite every problem Sage had, everybody turned the other way. Even I did. All of us just accepted Sage's irresponsibility. Everyone coddled her up instead of letting her grow up. just because she was victimized nearly 4 years ago. So in my honest opinion, when Sage continued to put off refund after refund, instead drawing personal art and blowing off money that she owes, she was not the only one at fault. Everybody encouraged her to do so, including the same people in the dock that ended up leaving her, including me. And it is insane to see them wondering how this possibly could have happened. I have to go back a little earlier about Emmy, because it's important to understand why exactly Esso hated her and why Emmy blocked me the first time. Emmy was also a close friend of mine. In fact, she was the one that helped Esso and I begin a relationship. Something happened in 2022 between them. Both of them knew each other in real life, and they had a falling out that ended in Emmy telling Esso's parents about a private matter. Esso had explicitly told Em not to do this. Em did apologize for it, she is heavily remorseful, but in the end, they blocked each other. There was tension between them ever since, and because that I was Esso's boyfriend, I found myself in the middle of it. It's because of this that Esso felt so uncomfortable that she left every server Emmy was a part of. And she was a part of a lot of servers. Emmy was everywhere. It was impossible for Esso to avoid her even when she was blocked. So I had to choose between hanging out with the group without Esso or spending time with Esso without the group. The answer in retrospect is obvious, but back then I was lonely at home and depended on the group for company. VCs were active every day. It was the most active group I was part of on Discord. I wasn't very comfortable doing one-on-one calls in general. It had nothing to do with Esso, it was my anxiety. There'd be long silences that made me nervous. If Esso and I wanted to talk, it would be on her server, where the music bot was, so even when we didn't say anything, it wouldn't be totally silent. But none of the friend group was part of it. This was an unusual situation that I had no idea how to navigate. In voice chats, Emmy would sometimes tell me how much she missed Esso and would share me videos and photos of them together. That gave me the impression that she wanted to make amends. And my Esso expressed that too, so I mediated. It was especially important because I wanted Esso to be part of the group, even if she didn't participate so much, because like I said, I considered all of us a family. For the next 4 months, I attempted to mediate and help them reconcile, and it never seemed to work. I gave up. This wasn't even my situation to begin with. Thought, how was I even part of this? Nevertheless, I just wanted to be a good boyfriend and do whatever I could to help and support SO. The last incident took place sometime around March 2023. I was in a voice call that happened to have Emmy in it. Like I said, she was everywhere, but SO saw this and thought I was turning against her. I wasn't even talking to Emmy, I was just watching someone else stream a video game. We had a long heated argument, and in the end, I resolved to unfollow Emmy's Twitter account to make it clear that I was on her side. I thought this was the only thing I could do. I thought it was enough, we never had another argument about this. Turned out to be a big mistake. While VC's and Sage's server continued like normal, Emmy eventually noticed I unfollowed her, and then blocked me everywhere. Not just on Twitter, it was on every site she knew I used. It made me feel upset, but there was nothing else I could do, I had to deal with it. I did plan to talk about it with Emmy when I saw her in VC and not too many people were around, just so we could come up with a solution. Unfortunately, it never happened. I don't remember seeing her in chats afterwards. It wasn't until the call with Sage that we spoke again. It was because of these events that was the moment I became a stranger. After Sage and my SO unblocked each other, I was still under the impression that Sage was talking to SO. That was on the 18th. Fast forward to the 26th, no, 27th. Now it was midnight. It's been well over a week, nothing has changed. That was when I spoke to another friend group member in a direct message, asking how they were doing, and what they responded with had totally blindsided me. They told me they were fine, and that they were watching a stream with Sage on her server. The whole group, or at least most of it, was watching a movie when I was not even allowed in the server. I was put to the wayside, forgotten about. No one had even known where I was, and I doubt Sage would have been talking to my SO whilst enjoying a feature presentation. I asked why they forgot about me, and this person was totally unaware of what was going on between us, so I just told them, never mind. I was really only talking with SO at this time. something I expected to be more than enough for me. Yet the way Sage had treated me, the sudden change in my life, and dealing with oneness on a daily basis was now becoming increasingly difficult for me. So I started drinking. I've only drank socially before this point, but now it was to cope. Awful idea, please never do this. It was my fault for thinking it was okay to admit this to friends. We had talked about very personal and traumatizing things, but we supported each other. I got that wrongly and thought this was one of them. When I had messaged that person and somebody else who was also watching the stream, I guess, Sage had messaged me within minutes.
Why did you message saying we abandoned you?
I asked why you abandoned me and didn't want to bother her while you were watching a movie.
I just don't want to be involved in any of this stuff. That's why I've been distancing myself and taking a break. Gumi herself has even said to me it's too soon for us to be talking right now. You do realize you messaging in are involving more people in this situation, right?
I just wanted to talk to because I didn't want to be alone. I don't understand why you think I'm involving more people.
I don't know what else I can say, really.
Why am I suddenly being seen as the enemy for something I never did?
I never said that.
Like Sage, you said that blocking you threw out any room for communication, but even after she unblocked you, we're still not communicating at all.
I'm distancing myself because I think a break is needed.
I feel like I risked our entire relationship for nothing. A break for what? I don't know what I did. I don't understand. Please help me make sense of this. Before I continue, there's a lot that I said here. She didn't want to be involved right now, involved in the problem that she started. This is also characteristic of Sage. She took a break from literally anything that required problem solving. Her docs demonstrated that.
I know you are still adding onto the list, but this is just a personal request, because this has bothered me for a long while. Even though I'm not on speaking terms with her anymore, I want you to add her on there. You promised at least a sketch she gave you a while ago. She deserves that much.
I'm overwhelmed, and I feel like I'm on the verge of self-destruction. I'll add her later. I just need space for now.
As someone who knew her since 2017, I've never witnessed this myself. I don't remember at least. But as soon as Sage faced the consequences of her actions, she openly threatened self-destruction. I will never know what she felt, but using those threats in such circumstances seemed to be her way of deflecting responsibility and changing the subject. She told me she was taking a break. Taking a break from what? From kicking me out of the server for no reason? Taking a break by throwing a watch party? She seemed perfectly fine messaging me at midnight, let alone during a movie. It didn't sound like a break to me. It felt like I didn't exist anymore. According to Sage, Gumi said it was too soon for us to talk. It's been 9 days since Esso unblocked Sage. It's been 15 since this show started. How is this too soon? How long are we supposed to wait? This could have been over already. There never had to be a break. I don't get it. I also don't see why she had to take word from Gumi, but that's another thing. Gumi and Sage had a super close relationship. She was always the first person Sage went to whenever she got in deep shit. She made sure Sage said the right words, made the right decisions, spoke to the right people to keep her out of trouble. It's like she had no autonomy and did everything as Gumi told. I thought Sage was being coddled again. Like I said, she was invincible and I think she knew it. That's probably why she thought she could get away with fraud. I should have been more assertive and shut this down. Instead, I was weak and took the worst route. My SO knew what was happening between me and Sage, and she was blaming herself for it. Even wanted me to break up with her if it meant saving my friendship. And again, with people telling me not to involve people by speaking to them, my SO was practically the only person that I was speaking to. Even with her by my side, I felt alone and forgotten. There was too much stress, so I had to cope. I told her what I had been up to. I expected Sage to understand and sympathize, but in that moment I forgot the type of person that she was. Sage was apprehensive, I'll say that much. And I think it was because of what she went through. Before she was called out, she was the target of a certain group of people on Twitter. It was because of a long, messy, and confusing conflict that has gone on for about 3 years at this point. If I went over it in depth, this video would have been twice as long. Basically, there was an art couple that was accused of grooming Sage. Sage didn't start the allegation, but she did spearhead it. Since then, sides have been taken, people were feuding in front of thousands of people, and even threats of lawsuits were thrown. Anyway, I'm 99% sure it was because of this that Sage practically feared Twitter and had trust issues. When she saw my message, it sent her into a panic. It was not okay for me, like I said. This was during a movie, so what I said practically ruined the night. Yeah. Sage set up a private Discord call and brought Emmy with her as she had something to say as well. This is where my memory gets foggy of what was said in the call, but Sage told me that she was still upset about being blocked by SO, and Emmy was especially upset about me having unfollowed her. I told Emmy about why I unfollowed her, and I promised her that it wasn't personal at all. I still saw her as a friend, but the conflict between her and SO was causing too much stress for me, and I saw no other way out of it. And I think Sage said that I was being passive-aggressive, which I don't understand. If anything, I saw myself as direct. That's just how I was raised. Sage had also mentioned something about ghouliisch. I'll get to that later. So what happened next was that we came up with a solution. I would mediate one more time between Emmy and SO. They unblocked each other and started talking again. And Sage told me that she would go and talk to my SO again, but that didn't really happen from what she told me. I thought that after almost 2 weeks we were finally coming up to some resolution. Yet while a part of me was glad, another part of me was guilty. It's weird to say this was the next day because this technically took place on the same day that Sage, Emmy, and I reconciled. So after I went to sleep and woke up, I found out that ghouliisch had unfollowed me on Twitter and blocked me on Discord, which was out of character for her. I thought we were close. I thought she would at least say something. I'll get to that later. And since Emmy was the only person that I was able to talk to at the time, I was venting to Emmy about this. Ghouliisch blocked me on Discord and soft blocked me on Twitter. I feel like no matter how hard I try to fix this, it won't happen. I saw this in a dream once, like 5 or 6 years ago, that I would lose everyone and everything moments before I changed form. That's the scariest part. Please help me, I don't want to feel this way. The reason why I was so clingy to Emmy at this moment was because when Emmy and SO were still friends, Emmy protected her, or at least that's what she told me. Protected her physically and emotionally. So I thought she could do the same with me since we were friends. At least close enough. She was the one who introduced me to SO, and that's how we started dating.
If you're hinting at hurting yourself, please don't. I don't know if I can really do much, but did you want to talk to her?
I did want to, but it's pointless. I don't think she will listen to me.
Honestly, I don't know what to say or even do.
Why is this happening to me? What did I do? I don't understand. I spoke to Gummy about this too, or at least I tried to. I sent so many fucking messages to her, hoping for some sort of response. Left on read every time. It's funny, I thought I had her support when I felt like this the month before. Sent a whole block of text of how much she cared about me and that I could talk to her whenever needed. And now I just think it didn't age well, because she never replies. Doubt she even likes me anymore.
I don't know if I can say this for those who are doing this. Have you thought about your actions and what you could have possibly said towards others? I did end up talking to ghouliisch about this. To be honest, I have no idea for how Gummy feels as of right now.
I was only telling ghouliisch how I felt at the time, and that time I felt distressed. Because I got shadow banned, I was not earning money for my adopts. I was losing my chance to buy a flight to see my partner. I didn't see that as passive-aggressive or whatever. I was legitimately upset, and I wanted her to understand that. I wasn't blaming her. By the time she did respond, I was patient and understanding, and I apologized. For the record, I never knew Ghouliisch still felt bitter about that time. If anything, I thought we made amends and moved on. Hell, the times we voice chatted were chill as ever, and there was no indication of something wrong. I've apologized, she understood how I felt and forgave me, and we carried on. Or so I thought. It happened 6 months ago and there was never another incident since. I don't know if she just pretended to be cool with me or what happened with me and Sage reminded her that I am not a bad person. I'm not a perfect person, but at the very least, I try to recognize what I've done wrong. Nobody tells me what I did wrong. Nobody tells me what they really feel about me. These are the same ones who preach about communication and then never communicate with me. I had to scream and plead why, and even then the answer's too vague. No, I'm sorry. That's not true. Forget what I said. I know there were times when Gumi told me what was going on and I'm thankful, but Sage stopped being mad at me when I made the remark and said sorry. So I thought, hey, everything will be okay and I'm not a bad dude. The point was that no, I never got the moment to think upon my actions because nobody spoke up and I thought everything was fine, with Ghouliisch in particular at least. M? Are you there? It was then I got a sudden Discord call from Emmy. I didn't know why she wanted to call me. This was completely out of nowhere, no warning beforehand. Usually people asked if they were about to call me, so this was apparently urgent. Then I got deja vu. When I got unannounced calls like this, it was always going to be a fight. I suspected the worst, especially considering what we were previously talking about. I thought if I were to accept this call, I should protect myself. So with the limited 30 seconds I had to answer, I opened OBS and started recording. I didn't set up the recording properly and only my voice was heard. My memory gets foggy at this moment. I don't remember what was said in the call and that botched recording is all I have to go off of. Emmy had stated a few things. 1. The group cited an incident I was involved in a few months before. 2. I was dragging people into this. 3. Ghouliisch didn't like me anymore. I'll focus on the first 2 reasons first. The third will be explained later as it belongs in its own chapter. To answer number 1, what happened some months ago was that Twitter had an update. I don't remember what the update was about, but everyone hated it, like it was one of the worst updates ever. So naturally, people both on Twitter and on Sage's server where I was an admin were complaining about it. Some of them were even threatening to leave the site, and this always annoyed me because this wasn't the first time it happened. I wrote in the chat that anybody who says that is probably not leaving. This was a cycle. Every time Twitter updated, everybody hated it, complained about it, and threatened to leave the platform. Some of them do, and plug their other social media, maybe stay there for a few days, up to 2 weeks, just to return to Twitter like nothing happened. Again, it was a cycle that I've seen over and over, and got tired of it. Someone didn't like that I said that and got aggressive towards me. I don't know why. I see nothing wrong with what I said. I don't see why Emmy even brought this up. Nobody even told me about this when it took place. I had no idea that this was a problem. Now that she did, it was already too late. This is the miscommunication I was talking about. Nobody said anything to me. Number 2, the people I was dragging into this were the ones I was trying to talk to. The one who was watching a movie with Sage on her server and another one who didn't even reply. In reality, I just wanted to talk to them, as they were the only other people in the friend group I trusted, besides Gumi at the time. And then I broke down. I told her that I just wanted someone to talk to, and I didn't want to change form. She asked me if I had a professional, and I said I couldn't afford one. The previous professional I had unfortunately changed form in the pandemic, leaving me without a provider. So she allowed me to stay on the server for a couple of weeks. It wasn't nearly as active, but it still had some group members in it. I've let her know that I had recorded the call, and this made her uncomfortable. Understandable. I'm sorry about that. Like I said, I did it. I recorded it for my protection. I didn't know what it would have been about. After a couple of weeks, the server was gone. I was either kicked out of it or it was deleted. I don't know. So this is now about the third reason. I've known Ghouliisch for about 8 years. We met on DeviantArt in 2015, I think. When Emmy told me that Ghouliisch didn't like me anymore, she was referring to an incident in November 2022 where I had lashed out at her, which confused me. This happened 6 months earlier. I thought this was already taken care of and we moved on. Apparently not. So what happened was that I was raising money to afford a plane ticket to see SO on New Year's Eve. How I did this was by selling adopts on Twitter. However, it was difficult to get them out there. Not enough people could afford them, much less see them. On the other hand, Ghouliish's business was thriving. She'd sell characters on the same day they were published, and we had about the same amount of followers. Whatever she was doing, the algorithm was in her favor. I asked her how she did it, and she basically told me she retweeted her own adopts periodically. So I followed her advice, and it ended up getting me shadow banned, meaning nobody was able to see my posts, even followers. I'm shadow banned.
What? Why? Also, I may be too, because last 2 weeks of October, my shit was popping off, and now it's getting barely 50 likes.
It's probably because I was retweeting my own adopt multiple times. I just checked you and you're just fine.
How do you check?
Surefire way is using an alternate account and searching for your own tweets. Make sure you're not following yourself. There are checkers online, but they're not 100% accurate.
I'm gonna make extra art for your squirrel girl, to sell her for at least 159. Because you are getting shadow banned when you need money.
I don't know if she was too busy or not, but the art was never made. There is a workaround. Elon Musk is about to implement the new Twitter Blue that verifies my account. When I subscribe, it'll automatically lift my shadow ban.
Yeah, that $8 a month thing, right? I said I wouldn't, but at this point I'm considering.
Unfortunately, at this time, Elon's Twitter Blue wasn't fully implemented, so I couldn't utilize that. This brought my fundraiser to a halt. 10 days later, the shadow ban still wasn't lifted. It was then my SO had let me know that ticket prices were increasing. I was running out of time. I was panicking. So I sent her a message. Look, we need to talk about this. That adopt I made and the several others I had planned were supposed to fund my trip to and see my girlfriend. Now that I'm shadow banned, my reach on Twitter has been reduced to null. My plan is endangered. I've already promised her that the week of New Year's would be the week she finally sees me in the flesh. So when am I supposed to tell her now? Never mind, I got shadow banned trying to follow some shady and spammy business tactics. There's always next year? Even though it has been impossible to monetize my art anyway, simply thanks to my own reputation, I'm hurt. Because it denied me of any chance to earn enough for one plane ticket. I see everybody else making adopts and they get engagement. They get people lining up to buy the first ones. But I scraped the bottom of the barrel just to get one person interested and not even having the money. I don't feel okay. This is fucking killing me. I have no choice but to rely on my real life job where I'm forced to sacrifice basic needs just to save up enough. I probably have enough now for a crappy economic flight, but if I want to bring luggage that has my laptop and clothes, that's probably not an option anymore. Flights are being sold out and I have to find a ticket immediately.
Letting you know I'm not ignoring you. I'm just running errands right now.
No worries. Take your time. 20 minutes later. Okay, I've managed to reserve a ticket with the money I have, and it departs on 28th December. I'm sorry, Ghoul. I'm not blaming you or anything. I was angry, and I wanted you to understand how frustrated I felt. It felt like I was running out of time to get this done, because everyone knows how stressful it is when it comes to flights.
I can respond now, and let me let you know right off the bat. I know you had no malicious intent, and I could sympathize how frustrating you felt, and the panic with having to reserve a ticket ASAP. So I'm not angry or upset with you, just in case you were wondering. Give me a few. I'm making lunch, but I am available now. I did share with Sage because I wasn't entirely sure what you meant or were saying, and she just kind of explained you were more so upset with how things weren't working out, not necessarily blaming me like I had profitably worried about. Also, I noticed a lot of other people having the same issue. I made a channel in my server for when it opens called Mod Adopts, where my friends and the mods can advertise adopts since Twitter's going to shit quickly. So that, as well as offering extra art, I'm hoping it's going to be enough to help you and my other friends sell their adopts. I'm also having some trouble lately.
Thank you so much. I haven't been in the server, so I didn't see that channel, but I'll come back soon.
Yeah, of course. I haven't opened it up yet, so not many people will see it. but I will send you an invite and add you to my friend's channel when you're ready for it. I may not really know 100% what I'm doing, but I got your fucking back, as much as I know how to.
Ghouliisch was understanding and empathized with my situation, which I was grateful for and appreciated. It was then she allowed me to advertise my adopts on a server under a special channel. The channel was only meant for admins, but she gave me the role granting access to it, and it helped tremendously. I apologized for my message, and she forgave me. Eventually, I was able to afford a ticket, and I got to see SO. First, I wanted to say thank you. I was in a terrible mental state these past few days, and I'm very sorry. I was able to get my recent adopt sold within like 10 minutes, and that made me feel so happy and wanted. I don't think that could have been possible without you.
Dude, no, 100% I get it. And I'm sorry I haven't been super responsive. Just a lot of traveling and prepping to travel. But nowhere near as stressful as you because, plane flight. I adore you. You are a very precious friend to me. And I am so happy you're feeling a little better and was able to make a sale. I'm gonna try to work on extra art for the cute squirrel girl. I truly believe she's worth way more than what she's currently listed as, given your time and effort. But yeah, with how people are, I'm trying to bring in more traffic so we can sell faster, and then you can raise your prices more, because holy shit, your art is beautiful. But for real, don't worry about it. I was put off at first, but I was thinking about it more and I would have felt the same exact way, especially with the stress of needing to get something like ASAP.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your help. We moved on from this, or so I thought. After everything she said about caring about me and our relationship, we didn't move on. This was long into the past. I didn't know why this was brought up again. VCs had continued like normally. Sage was the only one who told me how ghouliisch felt. I made it clear that I wasn't blaming her. It was me frustrated at things not working the way they were supposed to. But that was as it happened. Nobody else went to me afterwards about this until Emmy called me, until it was too late. But whether she knew this would happen or not, this endangered our only opportunity to see each other after 2.5 years. So I will stand my ground and say I've had every right to be upset. And even ghouliisch agreed with that. But I forgave her since she acknowledged my frustration and helped me in another way that worked in the long run. So it hurts knowing that these words of kindness lost their meaning. You may recognize her as one of the artists I featured in the FerretFresh Experience. She was the one whose character design was used in an attempt to profit off of it without her permission. I'm aware that there were comments on the video denying it, that they saw no similarities between Seraph and the adoptable character, and that ghouliish's post about it was uncalled for. While these drawings are different in style and presentation, it's the concept that I was talking about, the concept of a hedgehog with multicolored quills, the keyhole leotard, the gray-red color scheme, etc. The only difference is that Totally Tits made were the colored eyelashes and the crescent moon motifs, which I'll give them credit for. At the very least, it wasn't 100% copied from Seraph. The problem I wanted to highlight was that it was a design that was meant to be purchased with real money, writing off of someone else's concept without, again, their permission. Regardless, this in particular really did not help me. It messed me up. I thought we moved on from this. I already apologized. This happened just as I thought things between me, Sage, and the others were going back to normal. At the same time Sage and ghouliisch removed me from their circles, I was talking to Gumi. Because she was the only person Sage would talk to, I went to her since she could mediate. Or at least that's what I thought. In December 2022, an incident happened where someone on Sage's server basically told me to self-destruct following a crisis, and everyone in the friend group defended me. I appreciated their support, but those feelings of emptiness continued to March 2023, which was the month of my 22nd birthday. On that day, I had an existential crisis in the voice chat where 2 or 3 people from the group were there, including Gumi and I think her boyfriend. My SO especially supported me through that, but around this time I had access to ChatGPT for the first time and I was playing around with it, and At some point, I used it for company. It was late at night when everybody was asleep or unavailable, so I only had GPT to talk to. I had lashed out on Twitter and made a post saying something along the lines of AI being better at words than humans. And I did this with the sole purpose of being loud. And unfortunately, my SO saw this and it hurt her. In that moment, I forgot how much she loved me and supported me through all of that. It was a rash and impulsive tweet. So I apologized and I deleted the post. Everyone supported me through that, and later, Gumi had sent me a very long message before she went to sleep. And to be honest, this gets really personal, so I think I'll only read a part of it.
I'm in bed now, but I just wanted to send you a small message to remind you that I was thinking of you and your situation. It's easy for anyone to say some pointless shit like, it'll be okay, you'll be fine, and I care about you, etc., etc. But a lot of the normal people who don't suffer with the same conditions that you do will never understand the severity of the situation and how alone you can truly feel when having a mindset like this. I relate to a lot of what you say and how you feel, and I know that sounds silly, but it's true.
I'm sorry I can't be around more often. I wish you had better company to be around and help support you better. I've never really been good at showing sympathy or support. I can be a shoulder to cry on and a good listener, but I'm not much for advice or words. I know everything seems pointless, like you're at a standstill and everyone is moving on and up around you. But I really... You have to get through the massive wave of shit to find the treasure at the end. And I know you're strong enough to make it through. Please take care of yourself tonight. And just know that I'm here to vent to. Even if I get back too late, don't ever take your life for granted and don't waste your time on people who don't give two shits about you. Life is far too short for that. I mean it when I say I care about you. This was the reason why I went to Gumi through this, because I knew or thought I knew that she'd support me. I was keeping Gumi updated on the status with me and Sage. I felt like she should have known. But ever since the voice chat where she told me that Sage was effectively no big deal, she had never responded to my texts. I thought maybe she was just listening. It was after what happened with me, Em, and Ghouliisch that I tried to grab her attention, that I just wanted to talk. I needed someone. It got to the point where I was begging her to please say something, anything. From her boyfriend at the very least. No answer at all. Gumi, I do not feel okay. I just want somebody to speak to. At least your boyfriend or someone else. 7 minutes later. Gumi, this is killing me. You don't understand how much you people mean to me. I cannot keep going, knowing more and more if you block me. I don't know where to go or what to do. It feels so pointless trying to fix things. I need you, someone, anything to help me. Even just a short reply would be enough. I just hate feeling so abandoned and alone. These messages were sent whilst Gumi was online, or at least when Discord said Gumi was online. Normally her status would be a green phone emote, which means she was active on the Discord app. So I thought it was okay to talk to her. I didn't think she was busy. At the same time I was messaging her, she was in other servers talking like normally, sharing memes and shit like normally. So it felt like, was she ignoring me? After almost a week, about 5 to 6 days, with no response from her whatsoever, I blocked her. I blocked Gumi thinking maybe somebody would ask why, like Sage did me with SO. Instead, she removed me from her server. This was the last server where I had direct contact with the friend group. I talked about this with Emmy, who was only checking up on me. Like, why would Gumi do this to me when she said the month earlier that she'd be there to support me? I'm still upset, but I'm trying so hard to help it.
It's going to take some time.
I blocked Gumi. I don't know why. I was hoping she would notice and say something, but it's been well over a week. I feel like everybody forgot about me.
Was that because you wanted a reaction from her?
I don't know why. I didn't want her to deactivate me.
I mean, what's done is done now. I don't know, I really don't know what to say.
Yeah. I think she realized I blocked her and then removed me from the server. Not saying anything, not telling anything. She lied to me. She fucking lied to me.
About?
About being there for me. She said she would listen to me, but no. I want to scream at her so fucking badly, like she got me so fucked up.
Listen, I am telling you this because it's only coming from experience and from the heart. I don't know what exactly you messaged her when this whole thing started, but she probably didn't know how to take what you were saying to her.
It was literally just me asking to talk to her. As you can see from these, receipts, I was not in a good mental state.
Sage and I already talked to you about the ghoul part the last time we called. Though as for Gumi, I can think about a couple of issues you did. From what I do know is that the way you went about it triggered her. She didn't and doesn't know how to respond. She did tell you multiple times she didn't want to be involved with what was going on between you and Sage. Instead of respecting that, you tried to get her boyfriend's attention to get Gumi. You didn't respect that boundary.
I wasn't even trying to involve her in the problem, Em. I just wanted her. I wanted comfort. Apparently something triggered Gumi and didn't want to speak to me. Again, out of Emmy's mouth. Nobody told me this. The thing about Gumi telling me multiple times was that she only told me once. In a voice chat. Again, I wasn't even trying to involve her in the situation. I just wanted to talk. That was it. There was a case where I needed to speak to Gumi about something important in this situation. Discord said that she was online again. So I thought she saw my messages but didn't think it was important. I remember the way she treated the situation between me versus Sage. So I thought it was okay to let a group member know that I needed to speak to Gumi and to let her boyfriend know because they were friends. And her boyfriend sometimes hung out with us in voice chats. It's important to know that they live together. And this was where I think she told me that she didn't want to be involved. Gumi was pissed, but knowing her for 2 years, I thought this was banter. She always acted annoyed in voice chats. That's just how we knew her. It took me several months to realize this because I simply did not know. I only continued speaking to her because, again, I thought she could give me comfort after everything she told me back in March. I didn't think this was involving her in anything. I thought this was about me. Still, I don't see updating Gumi on how things were going between me and Sage, where me wanting to vent to her was trying to involve her in anything. I only wanted support. The same support that she gave to Sage. Gumi and Sage, like I said, had a very close relationship. They always spoke to each other. For most chats, Gumi would be the only reason Sage stayed. If she had to go, she did as well. And whenever Sage was in trouble, she'd go to Gumi for comfort and advice, even if it annoyed her. That's what my mindset was. If Gumi comforted Sage, she could comfort me. It was reinforced by her message with me. I do not understand how this was any different. You might be wondering why I wasn't talking to SO about this instead of Gumi or Emmy. It's because our relationship was still in a fragile state and I didn't want to bother her with any more of the situation. She was also blaming herself for me getting removed from the group. She wanted me to break up with her and I didn't want to weigh her down. She felt guilty, isolated, and even thought people hated her, all because she blocked somebody.
And do you realize that Gumi isn't going to be around 24/7?
I'm aware, which is why I only messaged her with respect to her time zone.
She isn't a therapist.
You don't have to be a licensed therapist to have empathy. She was the only person I knew I could speak to in regards to the situation because she was one of the people who talked about me. Otherwise, Sage wasn't available. I felt I bothered her enough anyway. Ghouliisch blocked me and everybody else was not involved. I think you still had me blocked too. Yeah, she isn't available all the time, but she was online at the time I wanted to call. That's how Discord displayed her at least. I didn't know she had notifications disabled. If Discord showed her as do not disturb or even away, I would have left her alone.
But do you understand what I am telling you? Because at this point, I don't even know if it's getting to you in some way.
I'm sorry, but I don't understand how it triggered her. She literally said the month prior that she'd be there to listen to me and vent about my problems. That's what I don't understand, and that's why I thought she lied to me, or at least changed her mind and just said whatever to make me feel better. Not all lies are evil, but they still freaking hurt regardless.
Even then, there's only so much one person can handle until they leave, just like my situation.
I understand that. I didn't know what was the limit, if you know what I mean. If she really couldn't handle talking to me, she would have cut me off back in March. There is one message from Emmy that I want to highlight because it was what hurt me the most. They're not a therapist. A phrase that I could go on for hours explaining why this makes no sense. For starters, a therapist specializes in treating mental and emotional disorders. So there is something so wrong with this statement given how long we've known each other, which had been for years at this point. I've known Emmy for 3 years, Gummy 4, Sage 6, and Ghouliisch 8. During the 3 years I've known most people in that friend group, we shared so many things about our private lives, our insecurities, our challenges, our tragedies. And we were all there for each other, not just me, but for all of us. All of us had our own issues that we were encouraged to take on. How was I any different? I wasn't expecting advice or an easy solution. That's not the point of confiding in someone. The point is to have an open ear, someone who listens and understands, someone who says it will be okay. It doesn't take a therapist to listen to someone. It doesn't take a therapist to empathize with basic human emotions. Lastly, GummyFangz herself invited me to talk to her. She had sent me a very long message that summed up to, I know I don't always have the right words, but I'm willing to listen and be a shoulder to lean on. So I was aware that she wouldn't have been immediately available. All that I wanted was, in her words, someone who'd listen to me. Once again, that doesn't require a license. It only requires 2 minutes. And I feel like this is something others should hear. I don't want to sound preachy, but I think some tragedies can be avoided if someone just said the 2 magic words. I understand. I think saying I'm not a therapist has to be the most irresponsibly dangerous thing that you could say to someone in distress. It's insulting and exaggerating. It's equivalent to telling someone to bug off and that you don't care. You aren't obligated to be a shoulder. State your limits directly, but don't say you're not a therapist. Again, I want to empathize that Gumi did not state her limits to me. I had to find that out from Emmy. Back then, I haven't thought of this. I just knew there was something wrong with this statement. And this was when I realized that I was a topic. Word about me was being spread to outsiders. After everything Emmy told me about not involving others into this, they were doing the exact same thing to me. They called it venting. That was when I first mentioned making a call out. If I knew what I thought was happening, that if Emmy or anyone else continued to talk about me with outliers, I would have no choice but to make it, which back then would have been an overly emotional shit show, so thankfully I didn't. The reason why I do this was because I was being ghosted, nobody seemed interested in my side, and this was being publicized for no reason. And this seemed to be a pattern throughout this whole thing, where I tried telling people what this was doing to me and how it made me feel, only to be ignored. As others in the friend group began unfollowing me, back then I didn't know why, since they weren't supposed to be involved according to Emmy. The only thing I knew I could do was apologize. I apologized to Sage, Ghouliisch, and Gumi and said I would seek help. The letters weren't responded to. It was then I deactivated my Twitter account. For the month of May, it was deactivated. After this, even after all of this, the very next day, this group just continued to interact with my SO on Twitter like normal, as if they didn't just cut her boyfriend out of their lives. It was unbelievable. SO had seen everything as it unfolded, how I was too scared to use Twitter, let alone Discord. I uninstalled Discord and continued talking to her through phone number. And that was when our relationship started to fall apart. Since then, we had argument after argument. Late May. While my Twitter account was deactivated, I contacted NP, a neutral party that was aware of what was going on and, God bless their soul, tried to mediate and fix things between us. But I wondered, how exactly did they know what was going on if A, this was supposed to be between me and the other four, and B, I was not supposed to talk about this with people outside of the situation. I'll get to that later. NP wasn't just part of the group, we knew each other in real life. We lived in the same area and even went to the same school. So there were a couple of times where they helped me get out, eat lunch, go thrift shopping, things of that nature. Even invited me to their server. They were the one that encouraged me to get a professional, which, as I said before, I could not afford. My SO at the time wanted us to work on ourselves. For a reason I'll get to later, we've taken a break and we needed to heal before getting back together. I wanted to do this for myself as well, as I was in the lowest point of my life at this time. Even if I could afford a professional, it would have taken months to see one because their slots were totally booked. So I realized that the only way to seek help quickly was to call security. I did, and that was when I was treated for a week. While there, I got the help I needed and I was assigned a professional. That was when I returned to Twitter in June, thinking a month-long hiatus was enough. It wasn't. Word had gotten out that I was back, and immediately I began losing followers again. These weren't just those from the group, even people outside of it weren't following me. And these weren't necessarily strangers either. They were all mutuals with the people in the friend group, which was how I figured out that I was still a topic. Even after making a post apologizing publicly and stating that I've sought help, it didn't work. My month-long absence was not enough. I didn't understand any of this. I apologized to Sage, to Gummy, to Ghouliisch, all with letters promising to seek help, all left unread. I acknowledged my mistakes and took steps to heal. Why was I still being punished? Seeing this happen right before my eyes wasn't doing me any favors. Even when I found a professional, it wasn't helping me. I was only given 1 hour per week to tell my story, to tell what happened and how it made me feel, which was not enough. The professional would just cut me off in the middle of my sentence just to tell me to continue next week. And it sucks. Healthcare fucking sucks. I've told NP what was going on as this was unfolding. Are you available right now?
Not really, but what's up?
Shit, I'm sorry. I don't want to bother you. I just don't feel safe on Twitter.
That's your paranoia getting to you. Nothing can physically harm you there, and no one is plotting against you. If you still don't feel comfortable using it, then that's fine. Take your time with it.
I've lost mutuals and close friends ever since I restored my account. I was literally bleeding followers. I don't think it was coming from Sage's server though. I think it might have actually been ghouliisch.
It's not either of them. As someone who's communicating with them frequently, and in their servers, there's no talk about you. In fact, Ghoul's server has been on a hiatus for a while. Just ask yourself if there's anything you've done that may have caused them to unfollow, whether it be inactivity or anything else. If nothing comes to mind, then they just unfollowed without reason.
I don't understand. I've done absolutely nothing. I made that tweet saying where I've been and apologized.
The apology isn't going to fix everything. What will help things is you getting better with your mental health. Have you scheduled an appointment with a therapist?
A professional is helping me find therapists in my area. She's supposed to be following up with me on Tuesday. But it's weird that everyone who unfollowed me has been from within this circle. Not dropping names, but they're all from both servers.
If they saw how you were with Ghoul and Sage, then they may have unfollowed because of that. How you interact with one group can affect any other group surrounding them. Instead of worrying about Twitter followers and mutuals, you need to focus on yourself and getting better mentally and physically. People come and go, but you always have you.
But this was supposed to be kept between us. That's the issue. They were not involved. They told me themselves not to drag people into this. And it looks like they're doing that to me. And I have no say.
Not necessarily. They said not to involve others, which would mean telling others to talk to the other party or having them do something.
Which was something that I never did.
But like how you're venting to me about this, they've probably vented to others as well. It's not involving them into the issue, but if someone saw what you said to them, their opinion of you will change.
At what point is it not venting anymore? How many do they need to vent to? They're not seeing what happened, only seeing one side and imagining the worst version of me. It's kicking me when I'm already down. I get it. They don't want to communicate anymore. I accept it. I just want them to leave me alone and let me be. There was no reply for 2 weeks. She messaged me again.
Have you started seeing a therapist?
This message, after everything I tried to express, upset me to the point where I left their server and kicked them out of my server and then blocked them. They didn't have to give me a solution. A simple "I understand" or "I know how you feel" was good enough, but I was just dismissed instead. And as I've said before, a professional just isn't enough. I need friends, I need support. But at this point, besides SO, I had no friends. And NP didn't seem like a friend either. Like I said, this was a pattern, where I tried expressing to these people how I felt and what this was doing to me, only to be ignored. I was dismissed. People thought I was paranoid. When I was still in contact with NP, we did voice chats, and I wanted to do voice chats specifically because there wouldn't be any text. I didn't want to be screenshot, and there's a reason why. When NP told me that they've heard about a call-out I was considering to make, I realized something, and this was further reinforced by the vague tweet Emmy wrote. How Emmy knew everything in the first place, how she talked openly about me being self-destructive and delusional, how everyone was talking about me. This means one of two things happened. One, my DMs with Emmy and or Gumi had been shown, or two, they had been talked about with outsiders. And both of them are equally mortifying. The fact that Emmy never directly denied screenshots being taken reinforced those ideas. I thought I was safe to emotionally express myself in these DMs. Everything I said, everyone saw. Even when I was in a vulnerable, critical state, that's the one thing I was afraid of. No one had to show that or talk about that. No one had to talk about delusions. I felt unsafe realizing this. It's because of this that later on, I was so scared of being watched by people that I refused text chats. I'd only do calls. I have expressed self-destructivity, but at the very least, I had the decency to not do it in public. I've only talked about it to those I trusted. Even then, I never outright stated it. This was humiliation on a whole new level. It's because of this knowledge that this video had to be public, because practically it already was. And to think she was scared when I was just as well. I was scared because she had also wronged me. The friend group especially wronged my SO. That was the more frustrating part. She did absolutely nothing wrong besides blocking a kid. It goes back to the subtweet Emmy wrote that I refused to acknowledge my actions or the people I've wronged when I did. I tried to seek help. I went to treatment. I have a professional. I've apologized to the people I know I've hurt. Who else is he talking about? I was totally unaware. Nobody has told me anything. Everything I knew, which probably wasn't everything, I had to find out from Emmy when it was already too late. I have to stress that every conversation that we had when we were still friends, whether it was in text or in voice, it was full of irony and banter. So if I did really hurt somebody, there was no possible way that I would know until they actually told me. And whenever this happened, I would make sure that I apologized. Nearly every single instance Emmy brought up happened long into the past, long enough for us to forget about it and move on. I went to message Emmy for the second to last time to confront her about this. I was intending to ask her what was said about me and to tell her and the others to stop. That unfortunately never happened. She simply replied,
I'm not comfortable to talk right now.
Which I respected. Given how serious this was, I should have insisted, but I was scared. Scared that more screenshots would have been taken of me to be shared with the friend group, or otherwise spoken about completely out of context. So I didn't say anything. I let it all fester in my head. I continued to bleed followers for the rest of the time my account was online. Most of these used to be mutuals with the friend group, which was how I knew that I was a topic. I thought these mutuals were honest enough to at least ask me what was going on, but it never happened. They've cut me off so quietly, so quickly, without even a second thought. We've known each other for years, liked each other's art, and some of them I even considered friends. People I've known for years became strangers in a matter of a week. They just seemed so fake. And I wasn't able to help myself. At some point in June, after I had the account reactivated for about 2 to 3 weeks, I deactivated it again. Because watching all of this unfold right before my eyes, it was getting to me. It wasn't good for me. And that made me think to myself, they've cut me off, abandoned me, forgotten about me so quickly in a matter of a couple of weeks, actually. It felt like they never liked me after all. Or at the very least, what they said to my face was not what they actually thought about me. And I have reason to believe this. Occasionally in voice chats, we would gossip and talk shit about people. I also took part in it, but the people we talked shit about would include members of Sage's server and even other members of the friend group while they weren't around. And that always rubbed me off the wrong way. I've never talked shit about my own friends. But it doesn't matter, I still took part in it. I'm not proud. If you don't respect me anymore, I accept it. I'm sorry. This was what I tried to express to NP. And they didn't believe me. They thought I was paranoid. Just told me to seek help. And I thought so too for a while. It made me think I was insane. Problem was, gossiping took place exclusively in voice chats. So if I told NP to check whether I was mentioned, there wouldn't be any evidence. So of course they didn't believe me. They told me they were barely active in voice chats anyway. After several months of treatment, I realized this wasn't just me being paranoid. I know that if I just say this, people still won't buy it. But I swear, this happened. It's not the topic of the video, but I can prove it if I have to. So with me knowing that, I thought it wasn't impossible that people talked about me before I fell out with Sage. In fact, it might have been how I never knew any of these issues before Amy told me. I really don't know for certain. But that brings me to my next topic. There was a fifth person that I wanted to talk about, and I kept it secret until now. He was the one behind all of it, the worst enemy, and that person is myself. Forget everything I said in the video, this is now about me. Like I said, there are no heroes in this story. I am not innocent. I have done more damage than anyone else I've talked about, and I will go over this. My SO supported me through all of this, from April to now July. But from May, she had been expressing feelings of resentment, for a reason I will get to at the end. We took a break at the end of the month and got back together in June, and then broke up in July. Initially, it was amicable, we still spoke to each other, and there was a time where we had been affectionate while we weren't together. It was awkward, I thought we broke up. I don't know why we did this, and honestly, I still don't. So in the middle of my awkwardness, I said, thanks for the fix. It was a new word I thought I understood. I thought it was just another way of saying quick. It actually meant casual and faithless. Because of this, she was hurt, but I didn't realize this until later. She told me that she didn't want to get back together, and I asked why, what happened on that night. She told me it was just a fix. That translated to me as she just wanted something casual. There was no romantic meaning behind it, and this hurt me. I felt used and told her so. And to be called a user, she felt stabbed in the heart after everything she did to love me. She only said it was a fix because I said it. Again, I thought I knew what it meant. And after this, I kept bothering her, trying to mend things. But the more I did, the more damage I caused. She was still trying to support me, and I kept hurting her. It wasn't just this that bothered her, it was again the same thing that I will bring up very soon. We fought every day until we stopped talking completely. It was now 29th July, the day of the breakdown. With my SO having cut me off for my behavior towards her, I thought I had nobody left to confide in. I've lost trust in everybody, especially those in the Asana community. I was so afraid of talking to anybody that my receipts would have been screenshot, that everybody was watching what I said. So I've made a tweet announcing that the next people who interact with me anyhow, liking, commenting, retweeting, DMing, will be blocked. It was to get rid of everyone. And so I did. I've blocked people and it wasn't enough. I forced as many people as I could to block me. Behaving as shitty as I possibly could have been. I've shared screenshots of conversations without context, calling those in them traitors. In DMs, I called them cunts. I've messaged those who were in the group and those who unfollowed me previously, calling them fake before blocking them. I've also spammed the call button to annoy them and grab their attention. And lastly, I went to GummyFangz. I said I trusted her, and she betrayed me, that she was dead to me, and that she could go die. I've never, ever in my life said this before to anyone. This was how much I hated her. That one word was saved exclusively for her. It was not right. Esso saw what was going on and stopped me. She was already told by the group what had happened and spent the next few days trying to keep me off Twitter. She tried so hard, but I wouldn't listen to her. I kept hurting her every time she tried. She pointed out several things that I was doing to myself and her. And then I realized the treatment I was given was not working. So I scheduled a meeting with a professional, even when I had no money to afford one. It was something I was willing to put myself in debt for. The problem was there were hardly any professionals I could find that specialized in what I thought I had, and it would have taken months to see them. The earliest appointment I got would have taken 2 weeks, when I needed it immediately. That same day, Emmy made the subtweet. Esso shared it with me. I reacted, and I was almost going to make a tweet. I stopped myself. Before I would send it, I shared the screenshot to Esso to show her what I would do. She decided it was over and then blocked me. After this, I made one more post before I went offline. And this is a little bit hard to watch, so I'll provide a time code for you to skip ahead. I'm here recording this right now to let you people know that I tried. That I tried to get help. I wish I could get help, but I have to wait. I have to wait. I have to wait. I have to wait! Every day, every week, every day, every week, I wake up in the same fucking mood every fucking day. And I've looked for psychiatrists, I look for therapists, I look for healthcare providers. The earliest possible appointment that I could get is 2 weeks from now. But you know what isn't helping me? What isn't helping me is you stalking me, screenshotting everything I say, sharing it with people, misrepresenting me to be the worst fucking person. All the people that I've wronged, you say. What people? There are only 2 people that I know that I've wronged, and I've already apologized to them. I've already admitted my mistakes. Nobody's told me anything. Nobody's told me that there is a fucking issue. So I kept going. I thought we moved on after I apologized, only to find out that people brought it back and are now turning against me. So this isn't helping me. That's why I wanted to talk to you, because I wanted you to leave me alone. Leave me alone. Stop talking about me. Just leave me the fuck alone. How many times do I have to say it? You say you're scared. I'm scared too. I can already see the screenshots. I can already see the voice chats. I can already see the blacklist. I can already see everything pile up on me. Are you trying to do justice? Who the fuck do you think you are? A series of events led me to treatment again. It took this to finally get me a proper diagnosis with the right help, when it was already too late. It was then I decided to permanently delete my Twitter account. So that has been my story. And I hope that explains at least a little bit why I've been gone for so long and why I had a breakdown. I hate that it had to come to this because it concerned everybody close to me. They didn't need to know what was happening to me, and they were the ones who had to help me get into treatment. I stayed for a week and was assigned professional sin. While making this video, going through screenshots, art, memes, contacts, all of it provoked bittersweet memories. There was a time where everything was okay, where we loved each other, trusted each other, looked after each other, had each other's backs, cared about each other, and helped each other. Those times are gone. Part of me misses it, part of me hates it, part of me loves it, part of me regrets it. None of this ever had to happen, yet I cannot get rid of this feeling of emptiness. Why did so many people just cut me off without even speaking to me, without even trying to hear my side? I thought I was part of a community. I thought I had a group of friends that at least understand me despite all my faults. I know I'm not the best. I know I'm not innocent, but after everything that happened, I tried so hard, did everything I could to show that I cared. All because somebody got blocked, because of something I didn't even do, because of things I did past and present, because of relying on companionship too much. It felt like nothing I did was ever enough. For years, the Sonic art community, the art community on Twitter as a whole, scared me because everyone hated each other. Why else would there be blacklists where nobody was even allowed to acknowledge the existence of anyone on there? It's sometimes justified if it was a predator or a scammer, but being blacklisted was as easy as somebody not liking you or associating with whoever they didn't like. The more popular the artist was, the more influential they were, and the more dangerous those blacklists became. It felt like I had to walk on eggshells every time I posted something. Ever since I got rid of Twitter, I felt so much better. This was something I tried to warn about in the FerretFresh Experience. The worst part about this was that I saw this coming from light years away. I predicted this. In 2018, I made a post on DeviantArt about a dream I had, and almost everything that transpired lined up with it. I tried to move on, I really did, but none of this would ever get out of my head. I needed to talk about it. And as I wrap up this video, this has been the biggest relief I've ever had. And I know that after this, I will finally be at peace. I didn't know where I was going when I was writing this. I went through a whole wave of emotions. Frustration, anger, regret, sadness. And it hurts. But the one thing that I ultimately wanted out of all of this was to be heard. There was one more person that I haven't addressed yet. The one that I've hurt the most. And that is my SO. It wasn't just because of my mental breakdown that we broke up. The biggest reason why was because I lied to her. And to you, to everyone. Although I have lived in Germany, I was not there anymore by the time I met SO. But I said I did, because I wanted to live it. And I went as far as changing my name, changing my time zone settings, and exaggerating my accent. My name was not Johan, but SG. And I've been living in Washington, D.C. I was already deep into this when SO and I got together in June 2020. For the first 2 years of our relationship, I continued to lie. My name, where I lived, my time zone, my identity. Her friends and family got thrown into it too, which is what hurts the most. None of them deserved the time they spent living in my life. In July 2022, I told her the truth. I told her the truth when she expressed wanting us to meet, something that never happened before in any of my relationships. Even without lying, I wasn't comfortable with it. I kept denying and denying it, yet I wanted to see her too. It took her breaking down in front of me to finally tell everything. Initially, she was surprised, confused, and asked why I did this. I told her, but the circumstances don't matter. They don't excuse my action, as I've made the conscious decision to lie for 2 years. And I hate it so fucking much every single day. The relationship continued for 1 more year, long enough for us to meet in December 2022. I stayed there for a week and returned home, but during that time, instead of telling her friends and family the truth while I was there, I didn't. And we played along. In May 2023, she started to realize what I'd done. She had to tell both of them herself. I also told her friends everything once they were all in the voice chat. We broke up in July. This January, she realized that she should have never accepted it, and then cut me off for good. She was traumatized. It became difficult for her to trust anyone because of me. Since my treatments, I have been working with a professional, and I am being taken care of. I learned how dangerous this was. I learned that I never had to lie. To be accepted, I could have always been myself. Not Johan, but SG. With that said, I am sorry. To SO especially, if she is watching this by any chance, sincerely, I am sorry. For lying to you, for lying to everyone close to you. For making all of you believe I was the person who said I was. I'm sorry to all of you. It was selfish, it was destructive, it was treacherous. And it took me years to realize it. None of you ever deserved this. And I will never forget this.